But I did the bolt modification on this gun so that you could take the magazines in and out without having to bolt. Travis, I want to see how badass that rifle looks. You just hold it right here. A tactical recon carbine on it, and that's the finished product with the rear side assembly right there, fully assembled. All the parts are painted and it is ready to use. I think it's going to work out really good. There's that crank off flash hider, gives it a nice mean looking profile. Really digging how this rifle's turning out. Get you a close-up of that Williams rear aperture sight again. It's mounted on a bridge plate. It's just a piece of metal mounted across the base, the rear sight that I cut off. YouTubers, I'm a YouTuber too. Hang them high here again. I'm going to show some of this work that I'm doing to this Cetme battle rifle. What I'm doing here is one of the weaknesses with this, one way that it differs from an HK91 is this rotating rear sight. The HK91 has a drum sight that actually is cylindrical, and it rotates clockwise or counterclockwise. The Cetme has a flip over sight, so it flips to different measurements that you want to shoot at. The front sight, the only adjustment that you can get for windage on these rifles is with the front sight. The front sight is concentric, and so you use basically what that means is if I'm looking down at the front sight and the front sight post is mounted on one side of that circle, so that when you move that circle, it not only changes the elevation, but it changes the windage too. So you can see how if I were to put a sight tool on that and turn it, it would move that front sight post to the left. Okay, so it's a pretty good, ingenious design, but it's not really great for super calibration, micro adjustments. What I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this rear sight. I've already made the cut. So Travis, you can see, come on down here and we'll show them the crank off flash hider that's already been, we cut the barrel off at exactly 16 inches. We threaded the end of this barrel and we installed this crank off flash hider. We think it looks badass. I haven't fired it with it on there yet, but the original muzzle brakes on these Cetme rifles, well, that came from Century anyway, were just horrible. They're really loud, and you can even see in my previous video the percussion wave that was blasted. Okay, so as we move to the rear of the rifle, I've already made this cut. What I'm going to do is I'm going to install this Williams. I've used these Williams sights for years, and they have infinite adjustment within the confines of the part itself. So I've made these cuts. I've turned the receiver sideways. I made a cut with an angle grinder on that side. I made a cut with an angle grinder on that side, and basically I have that came off in one part. And what that leaves me with is the base that is spot welded in 4 places onto the rear of the rifle. There is no windage adjustment, only elevation through these peepholes, so you're limited to that. Now, this rifle shot very well. It grouped very well within the size of a fist at about 75 meters, just casually shooting. So what I'm going to have to do to mount this William, and by the way, this is a model 336. This goes on a Marlin 336 rifle, and the reason I got this model is because it's got a perfectly flat base. So what I'm going to have to do is I have fabricated a part that's going to bridge this gap. Show the part here. As you can see, this sight base has two feet on it, and basically it's tack welded on either side of those feet. So it creates a platform for me to begin with. So what I have to do is bridge that gap. And I've got to raise it up a little bit. If I want it to be close to the same elevation, the peephole to be close to the same elevation as the peepholes on this sight, I need that much thickness. I need to raise it by that much. Okay, so essentially what I'm going to do is I've fashioned, and this is still in rough shape, I've still got some finish work to do to this, but I fashioned a plate that I can mount. I'm going to drill and tap these two sections right here on the Cetme rifle. I'm going to pop a drill bit through there, a number 35 bit, which is 7/64, I believe, and I'm going to run a 6/32 tap in there, and I'm going to thread those holes. And then this base, this bridge, I will attach this bridge with two 6x32 inch screws, and that will allow me to mount that rear sight just like that. That's basically how it'll look with I'll have to do some minor finish work on it, but that's what the rear sight system will be like on the Cetme when I get done with the fabrication that I'm working on here. So I've got a flat base, a flat platform to begin with, and now I will have infinite adjustment. Well, not infinite, to a certain degree. I'll have a 1/4 of an inch adjustment elevation either way from zero, and I will have probably close to a 1/2 inch windage. And these are very easy to adjust. And by the way, this is kind of a micrometer insert that Williams puts on these guide sights, but if you unscrew it, it gives you a nice large rear aperture to use when fast shooting. And to be honest with you folks, I take this out and I'll keep it in my kit bag, and I will calibrate this rifle using this large aperture, because what that offers me is it gives me really close range quickness, because it's a wide aperture. It's very easy for the eye to pick up, as opposed to these itty bitty little holes that are offered on most of the battle rifles of the day. They are very accurate, but they're very slow to acquire. Using this larger aperture is going to solve that problem, and it'll still be very accurate at long ranges if I hold my elevation properly, which you have to do anyway, whether you're looking through an itty bitty hole or one the size of the Grand Canyon. That will allow you to get on target really quick, and then you can take your time at long shots and it'll still be just as accurate. So I'm going to show you some progress on this as we go, and hopefully it's going to turn out all right. But this is going to be my version of a it was a battle carbine in the original configuration. I'm not in battle, I'm a civilian, so I need a home defense or patrol carbine, if you will, and that's what I'm doing. So I'm setting it up to be a well-tuned patrol carbine. So stay tuned. I'm gonna do some work on this rifle, and I'll show you the progress as we go. Okay, folks, we're at the stage in the project. Let's look at the work. What I've done is I've kind of cleaned up this sight base, which is just a rough cut. I've completed, well, it's not quite finished, but I've completed the bridge, and the bridge will mount right there. But what I've done is I've popped a couple of holes in the feet of this sight base. So I'll finish machining this with my circle grinder. I'll just level that out really well. These holes, go right through the receiver, but it's no big deal. It's just a stamped receiver. Clean those holes up, and then I'm going to thread them with a 6x32 tap. I'm going to thread those holes. I'm going to put threads in those holes with just a 6x32 tap. And once I do that, then I'll be able to put my bridge plate back on here with two 6x32 cap screws, and I've got those kind of countersunk. I don't know if you can really see that on camera, but I've got those holes kind of countersunk, and I'll widen them up if I need to do that. But I'm just really hand fitting all this, and really all the tools that I'm using, folks, is look, I've got a rusty old pair of channel locks for my. This is all my machining tools. I've used these for years. The only specialized equipment that I'm using is a 6x32 tap. The rest of it's being done with a DeWalt angle grinder, which I use damn near like a lathe, and a DeWalt drill with a good bit. So I've done all of the machine work basically with this angle grinder. The only thing I've done with the drill is pop two holes, and I did these holes on a drill press. This is really good steel right here that I've made this plate out of. So I did have to use a drill press for that, but I could have used this drill. It just would have taken me longer. And the key to working with metal, if you're popping holes in it and threading it, is keep it cool. Keep a lubricant on it. It really doesn't matter what kind, but just keep a good turbine oil or some type of maybe even gun oil. All you're trying to do is keep your work cool. So okay, I'm going to clean this up a little bit and we'll show you the next stage in the process. Okay folks, I just wanted to show you as we were progressing along. The front hole is already tapped. I've been through all of that with the sharpest part of the tap, and I'm just chasing these threads. This one's actually already tapped, but I'm just chasing it all the way through because I want to cut these threads with the sharpest part of my tap and see how free that's spinning. So I'm all the way through. I've got really good threads there. I'll feel real confident in a screw going in there with a little red Loctite on there, and that's going to hold that shit really good. So a 6x32 thread is buku plenty enough. Couple of those sink down in here, and those are the finished holes, drilled and tapped. So I have really good sharp threads, and I just like I said, I did it by hand using a hand dyno. One thing you'll find, don't get frustrated with this. You have to go very, very slow. This requires a lot of patience. You just want to make sure you're going in straight. Once you get it started, it kind of pulls itself through. The important thing is get a half or quarter turn on it and then back it out so that it cleans that metal out. And then just keep going. Really, when you start meeting really kind of heavy resistance, then you back it off, keeping everything straight in a line so that you don't cross thread your newly tapped threads there. And then if you can go all the way through the part, I recommend doing it because, as you can see, the end part of this plug tap here is pretty worn, and so I actually got to cut. When I cut all the way through, I'm cutting threads with this middle part right here, which is a sharper thread. So I feel really confident in those threads that I just cut there, and that screw is going to really cinch up and hold good. And I'm use some red Loctite. It's going to be great. I'm really excited about it. So go on to the next process here. Okay, this is about the best I'm going to be able to do, folks, in this light, but that's the sight picture that I'm going to have right there. And as you can see, just looking over the sights, which would be a CQB situation, you can drop that thing down, and the front ring approximates the rear ring very well. I can't even hold it still enough to show you that. Let me see if I can. But you can see how they made up really nicely size wise, and then of course you've got the screw-in adapter for this rear aperture that turns it into a micrometer sight as well. So all in all, I think that's going to be a good fit. That bridge right there raised the elevation. It's a needed bushing or spacer to get you to the right height, and then I'll have adjustment out to 1,000 yards if I want it. So gonna clean all this up and put the rifle back together, get some machine screws in it, and hopefully we'll be showing you some targets with some holes very close together in it in the very near future. Hang them high. Ice out. Good, looking real good so far. Really dig the looks of this rifle, the way it's turning out, and I can't wait to get out and shoot it. Might be today unless I get rained out, but if not, this bad boy is going on to the range and I'm going to do some thumping. It's really nice piece. Highly recommend, if you find one that runs, that you can shoot and you know it runs. These rifles are extremely reliable and rugged. If you get lucky and you get one that runs, which most of them did, run just fine as they came from the factory. Century put these kits together. Again, way less expensive than an AR, even really competitive with AKs these days, and just really hard to go wrong with a rifle that's right now I think they're running about 6, but this one cost me $400 for a really nice piece.